Hey y'all, Daniel Alexander here with Tutors for Transcendence. And this evening I wanted to talk to you guys about the idea of transcendence and what that word means. So we'll start off with this kind of dictionary definition. And it's defined as to transcend is to move beyond the range of, right? Or to move out of a field, you might say, right? It's to move to another level, to another dimension, all of these things. And in terms of Tutors for Transcendence, right, it's that kind of idea applied to the human experience. And you might even say that that word really is very unique to the human experience, and that this idea of transcendence is something that is most exemplified by the experience and the opportunities that we have as human beings on this planet. So it's not to say that other life isn't going through a transcendence process. For instance, you might say that the caterpillar transcends into the butterfly, right? Or it evolves, or it you could even say becomes enlightened into the butterfly, because there is a sort of enlightening and evolving process going on. There is a sort of transcendence. But really, to me, that idea of transcendence comes down to, the very specific ability of human beings to move beyond these kind of basic instinctual actions, right? So, all life has these sort of genetic, built-in automatic responses, you might say, the instinctual actions, and they are there for the purpose of survival. So, the evolutionary process has guided life in this ability to survive. And so in that process, these kind of automatic survival mechanisms that we call instincts have been kind of built into the genetics. And so where this idea of transcendence comes in is that we, through this kind of higher mind, through this ability to rationalize and reason through our reality, no longer need to rely on these basic fear-driven instincts, okay? So, in the natural world, in the animal world, there is the kind of fight or flight response, and that is this kind of fear-based response that in a moment, the instinctual, involuntary actions will take over, and a sort of chemical neurological mechanism will propel an animal to either stand its ground and fight, or to flight, right, to run away. And so again, with human beings and with this ability to rationalize and reason, there's sort of this third option available. So it's no longer the fight or flight, but rather the conscious, rational processing of a situation in order to have the most desired outcome, right? So it's not an instinctual action, but rather a very conscious and voluntary action. And so, again, we are able to transcend those more instinctual actions, right? So what does that look like? Well, it looks like the taking actions towards creating a grander harmony. And perhaps that was very, too simple, but it's about being able to, again, leave these kind of instinct-driven actions and motivations behind. So in our society today, there is a lot of these instinct-driven actions occurring, right? In fact, it's perpetuated and influenced. So through commercialized advertism and our advertisements and our whole kind of capitalist society and mentality, we have created a system that thrives on the propagation of these instinctual actions, right? It thrives on encouraging people to fulfill that instinctual desire to reproduce, or that instinctual desire to consume food, or that instinctual desire to gain resources, or to even gain territory, power, and control, and all these things. Because in some way you could say that all of those things are rooted in a sort of instinctual desire. And so to transcend is to, again, leave those instinctual desires behind and approach these things from a rational, sort of big picture perspective, and recognize, does it make sense for me to be taking more than the system can give? Does it make sense for me to be taking so much when my brothers and sisters have so little? Does it make sense for me to produce something that cannot be reused or recycled, or we can go on, but the idea here is, again, acting from that higher mind, right? Acting from that greater awareness than just the kind of reptilian brain, you might say, or the more instinctual mind and those more instinctual drives, right? We have this great big neocortex that's very unique in this world, and it's not to say that there aren't other mammals that have the same, and we could talk about dolphins and other primates perhaps, but there is something very unique about the human being, and I think it's time for us to recognize that and take advantage of that, right? And be humble with that gift that we've been given. Because, right now we are using these abilities for very destructive and selfish and greedy means. And the big picture is that it's going to lead to the demise of humanity. There's really no other way about it. If we continue on the path that we are, on these more instinctual driving forces, with the amount of people on this planet, if we continue to have this sort of competitive mindset, this greedy self-interest, it will surely lead to our demise. Not the demise of the planet. The planet will be fine, but to the demise of the human being. So I would like to see our world transcend. I would like to see our society transcend and move into a more harmonious existence. So, like all the other topics that we've addressed, we could talk for hours on these things, but I'll leave it at that, and hopefully there was something in there that you guys can harmonize with, that'll strike your interest, that'll encourage you to kind of investigate more and learn more, and just build this greater understanding and transcend to a higher state of awareness. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good night.